Ahoy VC, welcome to the Personal Oasis. This is The Blind Island. I'm your host Isaac, and welcome back to Night Train. This is a segment in which I look at a series of albums and talk about them. And today's train is actually going to be my RSD finds. Now, I had to work the day of Record Store Day, and I'm not really into buying the new Record Store Day releases. I know that some of them really go up in price and that a lot of people find them to be incredibly collectible, and some of the mixes are different, and some things had never been released on vinyl before. But overall, I just don't like fighting over it. Eventually, if something wants to come into my lap, it will, and that's just kind of my viewpoint on it. But anyone who wants to go and do that, that's great. The only two releases that I was even interested in weren't in my area, Josephus and Cradle. But, that's quite okay. Usually what I'll do is I will wait about a day or two, and then I will go out to record stores and see what used goodies they have left, or and see, because usually people are so wrapped up in getting the new stuff that sometimes the used can go by the wayside. So I have found a couple of real gems in the past with Record Store Day. This year, I had a couple that one in here I've been really looking for quite a while for a decent price, and the rest, they're albums I'm very happy to have in my collection. So let's get started off with the first one. This is actually a new album. It's Colter Wall. It's Western swing and waltzes and other punchy songs. Wasn't an RSD release, but it came out a little while ago, and I just have been absolutely obsessed with this album. I just featured this in my recent Spins video, and I think that it is an album that will get a lot of playtime on our turntable. I got the indie vinyl variant with the bone color. They call it the natural vinyl color. And very, very pretty album. Wonderful traditionalist country. If you're a fan of Chris Stapleton, Sturgill Simpson, early Sturgill Simpson, then this is going to be right up your alley. You're going to really love this album, and it's going to bring a lot of joy to you. So, great find. Very happy to have this one. Next is Electric Prunes, Mass in F minor. I know that some people have mixed feelings on this. This was basically when the Electric Prunes had stopped being their own entity, and David Axelrod basically usurped them and used them to kind of play off of his own ideas. It even says so in here, composed by David Axelrod. So it's basically David Axelrod's project, and I'm a huge David Axelrod fan. The only problem with this album is the Electric Prunes don't really have the musical expertise to pull off the complicated ideas that David Axelrod has. However, he did bring in a lot of studio session musicians for this one, and I find this to be a great psychedelic album. Some people find it to be having the worst trappings of the 60s. I disagree. I think it's a phenomenal 60s album, and the psychedelic nature of it is really great. This has the Tritone label on it. It's a stereo copy. Would have loved to find the mono, but beggars can't be choosers on this one. So I'm very happy. Picked it up for, I believe, $7, which is exactly where the price point that I wanted it to be in. So almost have the entirety of the Electric Prunes on vinyl. Still looking for, I can't remember the entirety of it, but it's like Oath, Summons to an Oath. I think that's what it's called, but I am still looking for that one. Then the next one I found, which I was pretty happy to find, was Bob Dylan and the band Before the Flood for $7. It's a double LP live album, and I would definitely say this is Bob Dylan's best live album, other than the bootlegs of the Rolling Thunder Review. But as far as officially released live records, this is my favorite. And the band also is featured heavily on this. They're really bringing the heat. They have this telekinetic rapport, and they haven't lost a beat, even though they hadn't toured in almost 8 years at that time. They just came back together, and it's like old times again. Fantastic record. Bob Dylan singing with a lot of conviction on this album, and definitely doing some really nice revamped versions of classic songs, so highly recommended. And I picked this one up for $7 for a double LP that I've been wanting to get back in the collection. Very happy to have it back. Then another one that I found was Duane Eddy's Water Skiing for $4. And you know, Duane Eddy had a huge impact on the surf rock sound, and I think that this is a record that, while it doesn't fully encapsulate everything that surf rock was all about, it is a nice send-up to the genre, to the style, and very, very enjoyable. I wouldn't say that this is a seminal surf rock album. I would give this one like a 3.5 out of 5. It's very good, very enjoyable, and if you find it for that price point, I highly recommend that you pick it up. Now, here's one that I was very, very excited to find. The Louvin Brothers. This is a 1967 reissue of their first album, and the Louvin Brothers are getting incredibly difficult to find on vinyl, but this one I found for $5 at a record shop in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and just really happy to have this one. Has one of my favorite songs, The Great Atomic Power by them. They are really bringing the fire and brimstone on this record, and the Louvin Brothers are just one of my favorite country acts of all time. I highly recommend you check them out if you're looking for some really good traditional country. This is one of the greatest country acts ever to come out of the genre. Next, I have another really great surf rock style, and this is the Stingers, Guitars A Go-Go. This group actually was released on Crown Records, and the lead guitarist for this group is Jerry Cole, which was a huge name in surf rock. He played with a lot of different groups, sometimes going under pseudonyms, sometimes adding his name, attaching his name to the front of the group. This was one of those times when he did not attach his name. However, you can hear Jerry Cole all over this record. It's a solid slab of surf hot rod music, and for $5, you just can't go wrong with it. Came on Crown Records, so a budget label of the time, but solid stuff, and very happy to have this one in the collection. And I also picked up Lou Reed's Sally Can't Dance, and a lot of people have mixed opinions on this record. This was Lou Reed's biggest, seller, and kind of one that went up and above, up to the ante for him as far as his commercial appeal, but he notoriously hated this record. And the RCA, the label he was signed to at the time, loved how much he was selling with this record, that they gave him free license to do whatever he wanted with his next record. And we got Metal Machine Music, which is basically an hour and a half of just grating guitar sounds. It was his response to basically giving the people what they wanted. You can even tell on the cover of this album that he is just absolutely hating his life having to do this, but there are lots of good tunes on here, and it's a really well-crafted pop rock album, and I'm very happy to have it in the collection, and it's a classic record by a classic songster. Now this one I was pretty excited to find. It's by a group called The Paperhead, focusing on the Looking Glass. They are a neo-psych group, and this album only received a limited pressing of 500 copies, actually numbered on the back there. And it came out on a colored vinyl variant as well. Let me pull that out here. Yeah, kind of a green swirl. And if you're looking for a kind of Pink Floyd, Kinks, Syd Barrett style neo-psych, this is definitely where you want to be headed. The Paperhead came out with a few more albums, but to me this is their most raw and psychedelic, just very strange, out there, crazy stuff. And you know, it's three young guys, 18 years old at the time, and you can just tell that they are exploring, trying new things, and it has the spirit of the 60s back in 2010, and I absolutely love it and adore it. Copies of this usually go for around $24, and I was able to pick this up for $8, so I was very happy to find this record. Then we have Blackbird by Donald Byrd. Now, this is a record that is still kind of under the radar. Donald Byrd, his jazz funk stuff from the 70s has been exploding in price recently. Stepping Into Tomorrow, Places and Spaces, and Ethiopian Nights have all gone beyond $40 a pop. And while I may disagree with those price points, I can't disagree that the music is phenomenal. And this is one that's still kind of flying below the radar, and I hope that it remains that way, because I would love for everyone to be able to pick up a copy of this album. Only $3, fantastic stuff on the Blue Note label, and just a solid slab of 70s jazz funk. Really great stuff. Donald Byrd was really hitting a stride in the 70s, and I think that many people of funky grooves will really enjoy this album. And then the last one, this is the one that I have been had on my want list for quite a while, and really have been searching for, and that's the Jimmy Castor Bunch. It's Just Begun, and wow, what a great funk record. If you're looking for things in the style of early Parliament and Funkadelic, then this is definitely a record for you. Heavy wah-wah guitars on this, and with the classic single Troglodyte, they're just bringing the heat heavy on this record. And it's also a very diverse album. There's something for everybody on here, and it's an album that you just can't help but feel like you want to move to. Great record, great stuff, and so happy to finally be able to pick this one up for $9, usually going for around $24, $25 now. Not an incredibly rare album, but one that I have been looking for and very happy to have in the collection. So guys, those were my Record Store Day finds. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope that you guys had a good Record Store Day, and I hope that you have a great day on your own personal oasis. Cheers.